What's good, YouTube? It's your boy here. I'm finally back at it again with another video. I know I've been away for a while, but I've just been crazy busy. You know how life is. But in this one, we're just going to be breaking down this boom bap kind of freestyle beat. It's like a 2000s, 90s kind of vibe. I thought this would be a good one to do because this is kind of a good beat. That's like the beginning of the beat was really simple. It's really just the sample with some drums, but I added in like you could see all this extra stuff. I added in like all these effects and stuff to kind of sauce it up. So this is going to be kind of how you can take like a relatively simple beat, but sauce it up a lot, make it sound interesting. So I'm going to just play it from this little breakdown here. I'll show you guys the intro too in a minute, but I'm kind of still working on the intro part. So I'll play it from here and you guys can get the idea of the beat though. Let's go. And before we start the video, I got a quick announcement. Today's video is brought to you by Coinbase. Coinbase is one of the top cryptocurrency exchanges here in America. This is not financial advice, so you can go ahead and do your own research. But for anyone who's interested in getting started investing in cryptocurrency, I definitely recommend Coinbase. And if you use my promo code, we each get $10. So go ahead, click that link in the bio, and let's go.
Mr. President, in talking about the continuing recession tonight, you have blamed mistakes of the past, and you blame the Congress. Does any of the blame belong to you?
Yes, because for many years I was a...
All right, so you kind of get the vibe of it. It's like the kind of like 90s, 2000s, old school kind of hip hop vibe. But yeah, let's just get into it. I'm gonna try and show you guys pretty much the whole process of how I came up with all this stuff. If I skip over anything or if I miss anything, just let me know in the comments if you got any questions or anything like that. But let's go. So the first thing I started with was this sample here from Splice. I'll just play a little bit of the whole thing. I pitched it up from C minor, so it's pitched up, what, like 200, and then I stretched it and stuff to fit the beat. And so pretty much when I started out, I chopped up these two parts. I liked this part right here where it's got like where it goes down. And so I think I do this with a lot of samples. Like when I first pull them up, I'll just chop them like this. I'll chop them into like little quarters or whatever, like one beat. And then I'll like rearrange them. And I think that's how I started with this one. And I ended up taking like this part. And I think this part for like the main sample part. Let me see. I chopped like those two parts of it. But yeah, you can kind of hear it. It's like just two sections of the sample that they're different parts, but I just took them, chopped them apart and put those ones together. And then there's only a few parts that play it, but I did like another chop too, just to break it down. And that's really only like, I used it in the intro and then these two parts right here. So there's like three sections where it plays this little sort of breakdown part where I changed up the chops too. And so it turned out sounding pretty saucy like that. And I really just left it. I just wanted to have like the extra, that little extra part where where the beat changed up just a little bit, just so it's not like looping the exact same shit the whole time, right? And that was enough just for it to sound interesting. So once I had that going, I kind of started with some of the drums. These drums are from like this old like J. Cole kit that I have. It's like a J. Cole Forest Hills Drive kit, or whatever that album was, Forest Hills, you know. But yeah, I think all the sounds I used were from that, and then I added in like this little roll too. But let's get into the drums. I always, like when I do these boom bap drums, I pretty much always start with the hi-hats. And so I used like the real sampled like boom bap sounding drums. I didn't want to go with like the trap sound. With the boom bap drums especially, I mean, this goes for kind of all drums, but a lot of the boom bap stuff is in like the sound selection and then the way that you place the sounds too. So if you zoom up real close on these hi-hats, you could see how they're not like on the grid, right? Like a normal hi-hat, you're gonna have it like right on here, you know? See how these ones are just a little tiny bit off. Change the velocity a little bit. And it's like almost all of them are off a little bit. So let me show you a real quick, easy way. I show this in some of my other tutorials too, but an easy way to like offset these when you've got notes like this. I like to use Alt Q. If you highlight them and you press Alt Q, it'll open this quantizer thing here. And you can actually go to this file right here too. And there's like different patterns that you could do. And these are all like different drum patterns. But basically you can just pick different ones that you like or whatever. And you can mess with the start time right here. Whoops, hold on, my phone's going off. My bad. But yeah, you can mess with like this start time and the velocities. So that's really super helpful. I use this for like hi-hats and then kicks and stuff too, especially like all the time. But we start with the hi-hat. I think I got 2 layered right here. And those are basically just playing the whole time. Same thing with this one. It's like they're offset a little bit and stuff. You could also offset them with this knob in here too. I know everyone knows the little shift thing. You should know that by now, damn. Next, we got the kick. Like I said, like it's a lot of it's the sound selection, man. Like, so this kick with the little extra noise, like a lot of times I don't use ones like this, but for whatever reason in this beat, like it just sort of fit. And it adds like a little extra like layer into the drums with that little extra noise coming off the kick. And then we got the snare next. Oh, and the snare is two snares also. And I like doing that with a lot of my snares. Like I'll layer them like that, and I'll have like a kind of an extra one sort of quietly underneath it. And so that when it like alternates like that. So when the 2 snares alternate like that, like it just gives it a little bit of extra like rhythm into the drums and stuff like that. And then I got the hi-hat and I added an 808 also. And this is just like an open hat. So that with the sample already is sounding pretty cool, right? This is kind of what I came up with. And that's sounding cool, but I wanted to like sauce it up even a little bit more. So I started adding in some of the effects and this little tom roll too. So this is the full one. Same thing, it's still from this J. Cole kit too, this Forest Hills kit. But yeah, in these boom bap type of beats, I like to use like drum rolls a lot. People will usually either use like effects or drum rolls in these kind of beats. But yeah, this one I basically just ended up putting the roll at the end at first. I had every pattern set up kind of like this, so I added in this this crash, and then I added in like a little extra chopped up crash at the end too. And then it plays with the drum thing. And so that was sounding cool. I ended up having the whole pattern set up like that, and it was just repeating, but I wanted to sauce it up like a little bit more. So I changed up the roll. So I basically wanted to set up the patterns so they would be like double as long like this. And they change up a little bit. So you can see here, like this is the same pattern as this right here, if that makes sense. But basically all I did was change up the crash a little bit. So I changed up the rhythm on that little crash part, and then I also chopped up the drum roll too, so it plays a little bit differently on the first one. Watch this. Added in a little extra snare too on this pattern. So you can hear the difference compared to this one when it comes up. And so that's just like a small subtle thing. But that's like a little extra sauce right there, just to like change it up and keep the pattern sounding interesting. Because like I said, like these boom bap kind of beats, you kind of want to keep them going the same way, but you want to add in like extra stuff just to keep them sounding interesting, right? So in terms of like more extra stuff, I've got even more extra effects too. I got the classic wind chime. I show this like I use this like every beat, man. My little wind chime though. That's just playing like literally every bar. So like every transition, it hits the little wind chime. But then underneath that, I have some more effects too. So I got this big crash that hits, and then some of them I have this white noise too. But that only drops on some parts. So all together, you can hear them like this. Cool. So that was sounding good. That was basically the full beat, right? So it was pretty much finished from here, but I wanted to add in even some more extra sauce. Like I said, with this one, I'm gonna probably put it on like a beat tape. So I wasn't necessarily making this beat with someone rapping over it in mind. So I added in even some more like effects and stuff. Just a little bit of extra stuff. But I added in this little cash noise with the triangle in the beginning here, and then I added in like this car and vocal effect here. Check it out. So that shit I thought was sounding pretty cool. I tried to just add in a few extra sound effects and stuff. I'll probably do even like a little bit more, like later on down here and stuff. Like I said, like I wasn't really making this beat with like selling it on my beat store in mind. So I kind of added in more extra stuff. But this stuff too, like let's say if someone wanted to use it for a song, you could always take out like some of these extra effects and the vocals and shit. But next I started working on this little breakdown part. I think originally I had just taken out like the hi-hat and stuff, but I wanted it like the beat to actually switch up a little bit. So I basically like chopped up the beat and I added in this little extra snare pattern. So I changed up the snare where it hits on each three. Kind of hits like that instead of on the normal beat. But I just added it into this part just basically to change up the beat. And I mean, when you do breakdowns like this kind of stuff, and especially in like boom bap beats, there's a lot of different ways people will do it. Like sometimes they'll just delete the whole drums out of there, or sometimes they'll delete the snare, so it's like just the kick. But whatever you want to do in these types of parts, like this is kind of a common layout for the boom bap beats. You'll have like your verse, and then you'll just have like a little breakdown. Sometimes this could be a hook, or maybe it's just like a music part. And then it goes back into like another verse and just repeats. If you listen to a lot of the old school like boom bap songs, that's more the layout of them. But check this out. I just added in like this little snare stuff just to like change it up and sauce it up a little bit, and then it hits the roll at the end. So I thought that sounded pretty cool for like a little breakdown, especially once you add in like the vocals and stuff. I'll get into those next, how to do like the scratches and shit. But yeah, it sounded cool when you add in all that stuff, and gives it like a good little change up and stuff for the beat. So it doesn't just like play the whole time. Like these types of beats can get pretty boring if it's just the whole thing is just looping for like 3 or 4 minutes. So try and add in some little extra breakdowns. You don't got to go like too crazy with this type of stuff though too. Like I'll be hearing people where they'll change it up almost too much sometimes. So just keep that in mind too. You don't want to go too crazy with the breakdowns and stuff, but if you add in a little small section like this, it could help sauce it up a lot. But yeah, let's get into like these little vocal chops and stuff. This is something I've honestly been doing in my beats for like a long time. I just haven't done a lot of them lately, but I've been getting more back into doing these types of beats and stuff. If you listen to a lot of my old stuff, I love doing like the vocal scratches and all that shit. But yeah, the way I've always done them is with samples. So I'll use scratch samples and I'll like actually mix them in with the vocals. There's tons of ways you can do the scratching stuff though too. Some people will have like an actual turntable you could plug in and actually scratch it. If you don't have that though, there's a plug-in in FL. It's called like Fruity Scratcher, something like that. You could use that. You could use Gross Beat too for vocals. I like to usually though just put in the little vocal chops, and then sometimes I'll just chop out like the vocals and stuff in it. I did it more on this end part. I'll play you guys this part real quick and check it out.
It's not just about what I will do. It is also about what you, the people who love this, the people who love this, the people, that's what this is all about.
See, so I think it sounds pretty cool at least. But yeah, I mean with these, like, I wish there was like better tips that I could give you, but this is like the main way that I've always done it. And I literally will like, I'll usually start with like the whole sample kind of like this. And then with my chops, like I'll start with the whole little thing opened up. And see, these are just little pieces of like the same samples. I have like 2 or 3 different ones, but these are just literally like the same pieces of all this, if you look at them. But I'll just play it like kind of with the drums and with the rhythm, and I'll just come up with something that sounds cool, at least to me.
It's not just about...
And just start, whoops, I'll just start like chopping them up.
It's not just... It's not just... It's not just... It's not just... It's not...
Also, if you highlight these and you hold Alt on them, this is a big tip too for these types of stuff. If you hold Alt on these, you can move them without it like snapping to the lines. So a lot of these I'll hold Alt, like I'll zoom in real close, because sometimes you want to zoom up right to the smaller details and stuff. And a lot of the boom bap stuff too, like I said, you want to keep in mind, like when they were making this stuff back in the day, there was no like this shit wasn't like quantized automatically and stuff. So a lot of this stuff would be like slightly off the beat. It's going to be like slightly before or after the grid. So like keep that in mind, especially when you're making like the vocals and stuff like that. They don't need to be like perfectly on the line. Sometimes when they're off a little bit, they'll actually sound better. So
it's not just...
But then, yeah, I'll just move to like more parts of the sample, you know,
It's not
and just
just...
throw in these little chops all over the place.
It's not just... I will do as president.
And these, like, it takes a long time to get it sounding right, but if you take your time with it, they'll end up sounding pretty cool. I'm still working on this intro one. Check this out, though. I made it so the melody kind of fades in and stuff too. It sounds pretty dope so far.
You know, I have to say, of course, there's some things that are current today and sweeping the country that I haven't had time to get familiar with. Pac-Man, for example. I don't know about it. I asked about it. Somebody told me that it was a round thing that gobbled up money.
See, so this one I'm not quite all the way done. I'm gonna probably end up chopping it up and stuff a little bit more, added in maybe some more or some different scratches, but you can kind of get the idea of like what it's going for with these ones. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like the whole beat. I'll show you guys a little bit of the mixing and stuff too. I think that mixing these boom bap kind of drums and these kind of beats is honestly a little harder than doing like trap and the West Coast ones and stuff. I usually end up taking a little longer at least to mix these ones. But yeah, I'll kind of show you. I mean, same shit still applies, like I always say in like every video. I mean, kick and the bass are usually going to be the loudest. You want your melody pretty loud, all that stuff. But yeah, I'll just play a little bit of it. You guys can kind of see the levels and stuff. So this one I didn't go super loud just because these drums weren't coming in to the mixing super loud, so I pumped them more with like the soft clipper and my ozone and stuff. But basically with these, like I said, pretty much every video, You want the kick. Your kick's pretty much always the loudest. I didn't put my kick all the way in mono on this one because it's got like that extra like hi-hat and like texture to it. So I wanted the kick to be kind of a little wider. But I put the bass obviously all the way mono, snares almost all the way mono. My main kick is almost all the way. It's like 89% mono. And then I've got all my drums also bussed to a drum track. The way you do this is you just highlight them and you go to any track. You right click here. I like to do route to this track only with my drums, and I'll route them all to one track. And then I'll use I use the transient processor on this one, but you could also use a compressor. And then I just EQ'd it just a little bit. But here's all the drums like solo with all the effects and stuff. And so a lot of times too on these boom bap drums, I'll add like extra vinyl or like RC, whatever that is, RC20. But with these ones, like they were already sounding so like vinyl sampled sounding, I didn't really have to add anything extra to them. My biggest tip probably with like the boom bap drums is do not overdo it on the bass. Don't go too loud on the bass. Like a lot of these beats, like the bass is not quite as center as a lot of the newer music is. It's more gonna be like your kick and snare are kind of like the forefront of the mix and stuff with these types of beats. So keep that in mind when you're doing like the boom bap ones. But yeah, I mean, that's the drums, and then the sample is literally, it's just on one track. I added like 50 EQs just to take out all the bad sounding stuff. And then yeah, with all the effects, here's everything. And then yeah, for the mastering, like I said, this beat was a little quieter than I would normally get it, but I'll show you like the levels before. So like I said in my mixing video, like I'll usually try and go to about -6 or higher before I put on the soft clipper and stuff. This one got like right to 6. So this is about as low as I'll usually mix my beats and stuff before I put on the mastering channels. But it ended up sounding pretty good. I don't like to have them super quiet. This is all kind of like a personal preference thing. Like some people like to mix more quietly and then they'll turn it up more. I like to mix to about, like I said in my mixing video, like -6 to like 0, or sometimes I'll even go louder, but this beat it ended up a little lower. And then I put on the soft clipper. Soft clipper, I'll put it up like as loud as it can go. I'll put the post gain like all the way up and then just mess with the threshold till it sounds good to me. And then I'll add on the ozone after. But that's with soft clipper. And then with ozone brings it all the way up. And that is pretty much going to wrap this one up. Like I said, the beat is like fairly simple, but there's just kind of a lot of stuff in here that I added just to like change it and sauce it up. I say it in like every video, man, like try and keep it simple. Don't overdo it with stuff. Just try and add in maybe like a good part where the beat breaks down, changes up a little bit, add in some good effects that are unique and sound cool to the beat, and it'll sound pretty good, man. But let me know if you guys got any questions about this beat in particular and what you guys want to see next. And until the next one, peace. Oh yeah, drop the like, drop the sub, drop the comment. Let's go.